morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Mike Brooks, and I am so excited to have the legend Stan Billue with me today. I just want to make sure before we start the recording you can hear me and see the screen okay. In the question answer box, do me a favor, just let me know that you can hear me okay, you can see the slide okay. Stan, say good morning.
Good morning, everybody. And if you can hear both of us and see the screen, just give us a quick heads up, and we'll get ready to get going.
Yes, we will. Okay, so I'm getting a yes, yes, sir. You can hear us both. All good. I can hear and see okay. Bring it on, somebody say. Yeah, you just wait. You will. All right, let me start a recording so we capture everything for posterity. Hang on. All right, we are now good to go. So I'm going to officially begin the most important webinar many of you will ever see and hear in your life. This is Mike Brooks, Mr. Inside Sales, of course. And I want to say good morning or good afternoon to the over 1,000 companies and individuals who are on this webinar today. And by the way, that's around the world. We have people tuning in from Australia, from England, France, all over the world. I want to say a special welcome to all of you as well. And I'm going to now introduce my very, very special guest, my good friend and mentor, Stan Billue. And I love reading this introduction because it really gives you the full story of what Stan has been through and what he has accomplished. So here we are. During the first 34 years of his life, Stan Billue was a high school dropout. He was bankrupt, divorced twice, and he likes to call himself a self-made failure. Now, all of that changed when he met a self-made millionaire who offered to become his mentor. Now, Stan's mentor encouraged him to invest 1 hour a day to become a world expert in one subject, and also taught him how to have a consistently great attitude. Now, with these tools, Stan started to turn his life around. He entered the sales profession, and he proceeded to double his income for 5 consecutive years. He then started a new career as a sales trainer, motivational speaker, and for over 20 years, Stan has traveled the world, conducting up to 22 speaking engagements per month. Now, Stan is now retired. He enjoys bass fishing on the St. Johns River in Florida, and although he still mentors and consults with a select number of top sales pros and companies, and markets his powerful training materials on the internet in over 50 countries. Now, Stan has earned the title of Mr. Fantastic, and you're about to see why. So it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Fantastic, Stan Billue. Welcome. Thanks for being here, Stan.
Mike, it is an absolute pleasure to work with you again, and good morning and good afternoon to everybody who, as Mike said, has joined us from literally around the world. I'm excited that we literally maxed out this webinar today at 1,000 listeners, so there's going to be a lot of folks that weren't able to attend, but we'll be able to offer them the recorded replay. And of course, the rest of you that do want to hear it again, Mike and I will be notifying you of what that link is over the next couple of days so that you can listen again many, many, many times. I'd like to welcome everybody to this webinar, and congratulations on investing some time to improve your skills and increase your income. Our goal is to wrap up in about 45 minutes so we can have some time for specific questions from our listeners. Mike will be letting you know how to do that. You can just type in some questions in the chat box, and Mike and his assistant will be going through those and try to pick out 10, 15, or 20 of them so we can work on them at the end of this webinar. I encourage you all to take a lot of notes and keep an open mind. Instead of trying to figure out why a skill or technique won't work, the real challenge is to be willing to change a few words to fit our particular product or service. So far, you've seen some very impressive testimonials on the screen, and I want to assure you that selling is a craft that can be learned and mastered. There's a great saying about sales that goes like this: if you work at sales like most people won't for the next 5 to 10 years, you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. Since we all have a limited number of years to make our fortune, we really have two choices. First, we can hope that through osmosis we can learn what we need to learn, and that honestly that can take forever. Or you can learn from the masters. I urge you to invest some time each day to master their words, their skills, their techniques, their attitude, their work habits, their passion, and become a world-class money-making monster. And, they say that school is never out for the pro, and that often we just need to be reminded instead of taught. Whether you are new to sales or an experienced pro, I am committed to helping you become the best you can become. Are you? Well, let's get started. Our webinar today is about handling objections, overcoming objections, closing more sales. And again, please take a lot of notes, because all of these testimonials that you've been seeing on the screen are real testimonials. I couldn't have paid these people to write some of this stuff. So, it's here for you. I'm basically, this next month, I'm excited to share with you, will be my 36th anniversary of investing an hour a day to learn just a little, one new skill or technique a day, so I can be a little better today than I was yesterday. I hope you have that very same commitment. So here we go. Winning the war on objections. It's been often said that he or she who is best prepared normally makes the sale, and how true that is. Again, after several days, several weeks on the phone, you're going to realize that you're only going to be faced with 4, 5, or 6 basic objections, no matter how long you're in this great profession. And since they only have 4, 5, or 6 ways to say no to us, or to put us off, or to stall us, all you have to do is learn how to handle or overcome or stall or work around each one of those 4, 5, or 6 basic objections. It's really that simple. So again, be better prepared than your prospect. Now, there's basically 4 times to handle objections. The first is before they happen, which quite frankly, can very well be the best way. The second is when they happen. Third is after they happen. And believe it or not, 4 is never. So let's talk about each one of those in a little more detail. Before they happen means that you bring up one or more of your biggest objections and work it into your presentation, so you're covering it before they do. This also helps you keep in control. You might say something like, many clients were concerned about, and then here you insert the main objection or concern that you face quite a bit. However, once they started using our product or service, they actually found that and then here you add the benefit. So simply by working this into your presentation before they have an opportunity to bring it up, many times can actually get rid of this objection before it ever occurs. So again, before it occurs can be absolutely phenomenal for you. The second time is when they happen. Now, when they happen means that you have to stop your presentation, and if they interrupt you with an objection, and then you try to handle it when it happens. This is normally not the best time to handle any objection, since you're basically giving up your control. Now, they only have, again, 4 to 6 ways to say no. So that simply means you're going to come up with at least 1, 2, 3, or maybe eventually a dozen ways to handle each one of those 4, 5, or 6 basic objections. So again, we encourage you to have at least 3 ways to handle every objection. You could, and again, I said prepared. So, and Mike is big on this, being prepared by having a script. Don't allow yourself to get trick-bagged into ad-libbing or winging an answer to try to handle these objections. Your answers need to be scripted with the most powerful and effective words possible to avoid the bad habit of ad-libbing and winging it. Now, what I do suggest is that you consider having a short and long version of each possible answer. Again, in sales, we usually go from not knowing what to say the first few days or first few weeks in sales to having diarrhea of the mouth within just a few weeks. Why? Well, we start hearing and learning other neat things from fellow sales pros, and we start throwing everything but the kitchen sink at our prospects, and our answers can end up being several minutes of jibber jabber. Always use the short version and tie it down at the end with something like, have we cleared that up? Or does that answer your question? Or do you feel better about that now? And if they give you a strong enough response, you've just handled the objection. Now, if they sound hesitant, well, not really, or I'm not sure, could you tell me more? Now you want to use the long version and try to handle it that way, but always use your short version first. Now we're going to talk about the third way, and that is after they happen. After they happen means that many times you might be on a roll during a presentation and your prospect wants to interrupt your flow with an objection. Rather than losing your control, you might say something like, that's a great point, and I'll be covering that in detail in just a few minutes. Now, at that point, you have kept control of your presentation, and you can bring up their objection later when you're ready to handle it. So again, control is a key factor in selling. So many times you don't want to necessarily stop what you're doing and jump in to handle an objection. Just simply say, that's a great point or a great question. And notice I did automatically change objection into question. That's a great question, and I'll be covering that in detail in just a few minutes. And then you go right back into your script. All right, let's look at the fourth way, which is never. That's right. This means that many times a prospect or client will throw out a few comments or even words that may sound like an objection just to throw us off our game, so to speak. It's almost like the enemy shooting up some flak to disrupt our flight. Many times you can avoid or fly around that flak by simply acknowledging what they've just said and continue your presentation without stopping and trying to do more with it than is really needed. So you might say, that's great because we specialize in working with companies or individuals who, and whatever they just said, are concerned about the pricing or are concerned about the guarantee or are concerned about reliability or whatever they say. You simply say, that's great because we specialize in working with individuals like yourself who are indeed concerned about whatever it is they brought up. Now, that is a great choice of words, and the key word there is specialize. Whatever they say, you can say, that's great because we specialize in working with individuals that are concerned about that. That's great because we specialize, and you always use the word specialize. And again, maybe in 6-12 months we'll have to change that word, but right now it's so very effective because very, very few salespeople are using that phrase, and we constantly want to sound better and different than everybody else. And that basic technique can work with virtually almost anything they say. As an example, if they say, well, I can't afford it, you could say, that's great because we specialize in working with companies who believe they couldn't afford our world-class offer. And then you just continue with your presentation. Again, you've acknowledged what they've said. You've come back with a response, but you're keeping your control. So again, if they say, well, it costs too much, well, that's great because we specialize in working with individuals who believed our top-of-the-line product cost too much. So again, you've acknowledged their objection or their comment, and you've gained your control back. Let's say if they say, well, your rates are too high. Well, you could say, well, that's great because we specialize in working with companies who at first believed our rates were too high. Again, you acknowledge and proceed. Acknowledge and proceed. The simplest two-step formula ever for objections. Acknowledge and proceed. And let's say, they say, I want to look around. You say, well, that's great because we specialize in working with individuals who normally prefer to look around. All right. At this point, we're going to interrupt our webinar, and we promise to be back to our regularly scheduled program in just 60 seconds. You know, Mike asked me to put together a package of products that could help you increase your income, crush your competition, soar to new success, rewrite the record book. Get more dates. Where did that one come from? Mike must have slipped that one in.
I didn't do that, Stan. I didn't do that.
You're not going to claim that one. All right. So what we've done is we've put together 4 power products, and I can guarantee you, folks, if you've been following my website for any number of years, you'll know this is our best value ever. First of all, we're going to throw in our video training series. This is 90 telemarketing skills. So that simply means you're getting 90 complete training videos. Now you download this so you can burn your own DVDs. You can have it in your library to watch anytime you want. There's almost 8 hours of proven skills and techniques. The normal retail on this product alone, folks, is $295 to download all 90 telemarketing skills. The second of our 4 power products is our phenomenal audio series. Folks, this is a classic in the industry. It's called Double Your Income Selling on the Phone, not to be confused with Mike's series by the same name. This was the original, called Double Your Income Selling on the Phone. It's 12 audio sessions, almost 10 solid hours of everything you ever need to know about selling on the phone or even face-to-face selling, quite frankly, because 95% of the material is directly applicable to belly button selling. So 10 hours of material, including 100 different ways to close the sale. This series alone normally retails for $125. The third of our power products and our best value ever is printed. So you're getting video, you're getting audio, you're getting printed. The sales training manual that we have is called the Sales Expose. Folks, it's 148 pages. It's an ebook that you can download called the Sales Expose. It's crammed with everything you need to be successful in selling, negotiating, communicating more effectively. The normal retail of that is $50. And the fourth of our 4 power products, again, our best value ever, is a manuscript that you can download of my autobiography called The Best Seller. Yes, it's more entertaining than a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair convention, and it contains some great examples of storytelling. Very entertaining, I can guarantee you that. The real value, though, of this autobiography is that there are 150 life lessons learned during my life and career. The normal retail on that is $25. So, folks, there you have the best value ever 4 products, 90 telemarketing selling skills that you download the video series, Double Your Income Selling on the Phone, you download the audio series, the Sales Expose, you download and print our sales manual, and a bestseller. And I put the link on the bottom of each one of these pages because we have set aside only 50 sets for this webinar. When those 50 are gone, the price goes back up. Oh, by the way, what is the price? Well, again, normally you'd be looking at $495 for all 4 products. That alone, many people say, is a bargain. Today, it's not $395. It's not even $295. It's only $195. That's right. All 4 of those products, $495 in value. You're getting virtually a $300 discount just because you took the time to invest a few minutes out of today to listen to this webinar. So, Mike, before we get back into the webinar, do you have a few comments regarding the products?
I do, Stan. I just sent a link over in everybody's chat box, and it's a live link that will take you to this buy page. And I just want to let everyone know the reason I asked Stan to put this brief product offering in the middle of the webinar, by the way, we're going to get back to a ton more material. The reason I asked Stan to put it in the middle is because, again, we've got over 1,000 people and companies signed up, and these 50 CD sets will go before, they'll sell out before we even end the webinar. So if you're serious about improving your station in life and your income, and I got news for you right now, I've seen Stan Billewe's material. I've used Stan Billewe's material to personally make well over $2, even $3 million in my career in sales. This material was responsible for me becoming a top 1% closer. So $195, heck, you'll learn 2 techniques to triple, quadruple that in the first week. This is a no-brainer for you if you're serious about your career, and you are serious, otherwise you wouldn't be on this webinar. So without your credit card, put this in the bank now, and then let's listen to the rest of Stan's material. Stan, thanks for making this offer.
Oh, Mike, you're welcome. We did it the best ever, the best value, best pricing that I've ever offered. And I'll just mention real quickly that I am retired, living in Florida, and I'm a one-horse operation, which simply means that if you're ordering it now and you're waiting on the links, you're going to have to wait till a few minutes after the actual webinar ends, because I'll be fulfilling all of these orders in the order that they came in. Shortly after the webinar ends. So don't send me a bunch of emails. I paid my money and I don't have my links yet. They'll be coming to you this afternoon, I promise. All right, now we get back to our regularly scheduled program, which of course is winning the war on objections. Now I'm going to give you a whole bunch of tools for objections. Keep in mind there's several dozen techniques on my audio and my video and in my print material on how to handle objections. Dozens of different skills and techniques. We're only going to scratch the tip of the iceberg today. But always remember to be a closer and not a conversationalist. And you can do that. One way to do that is by rating their interest. You know, a critical factor is in selling is to always get a response after you answer any objection or handle any question. The best way to accomplish that goal is to rate their interest by asking them things like, how does that sound? Or do you feel better about that now? This is looking better all the time, isn't it? Many times their answer can be so enthusiastic and positive that you have just made a sale. If their response is strong enough and can, you can simply say, great, here's what we do next, or super, here's how we get started. And unless they stop you, you make a sale. Folks, understand that it's critical to listen closely and recognize these buying signals that we've just helped to create. I've critiqued a ton of recorded calls where a prospect says, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And the salesperson just keeps jabbering away. You know, that's where the old saying came from, that many salespeople spend 20% of their presentation selling their product or service and 80% buying it back because we talk too much. We get diarrhea of the mouth. So after you answer a question or after you handle an objection, always tie it down and rate their interest by simply saying, great. How does it sound so far? Do you feel better about that now? Have we cleared that up? This is looking better all the time, isn't it? And if they give you a strong enough response, you've just made your sales. So again, some more tools for objections is determine their reluctance. You know, I've heard many salespeople walk away from a no sale, mumbling about not making a sale. And when I ask them, well, why did you miss that? They respond with something, I don't know, I guess he's an idiot. Well, may I humbly suggest that if someone doesn't buy, who knows why they didn't buy? They do. How do we find out? By asking them. You know, find out why they're saying no. And a great way to do that is to ask the single biggest reason question. We'll have far greater success finding their real or hidden objection by simply saying, what's the single biggest reason for not moving forward today? What's the biggest single reason preventing you from pulling the trigger? What's the biggest single reason, so that you're not completing the application today? Just ask the single biggest reason question, and then you've got something you can get your teeth into. If they don't give you that specific objection or concern, then they're in total control. You've lost the sale, and you really will have no concept as to why. Now, when they give you an objection, always question the objection. It's a great technique to always question the objection, which puts them in a position of having to explain, justify, or enhance their original comment or objection. Many times they will either give you more information to help you handle the objection, or possibly pop the real or hidden objection, because again, sometimes buyers are liars, or possibly they even explain it away. So always learn to question the objection. And 3 magic words that I love to teach are tell me more. So you can always say interesting question, interesting point, tell me more, and put them in a position to explain, enhance, or justify, or possibly explain away whatever cockamamie choice of words they just gave you. So again, don't believe everything that comes out of their mouth is a real objection. Always learn to question it, because they can either explain it, give you more information, pop the real objection, or possibly explain it away. Another tool for objections is to tell them a story. Many times you can make a sale by telling them a brief story about someone else who had the same concern they do. However, this person went ahead with a positive decision and loved the results. This offers them reassurance by hearing about someone else that was in the same situation they're in, unsure, tendency to procrastinate, afraid of the pricing, whatever, and they hear a story that they can relate to of somebody else who was in the same position, and instead they went ahead, made a positive decision, and they ended up with great results. And what in reality, what you're doing is you're telling them what's going to happen after they go ahead and via a third party. So they're hearing the story rather than you telling them that it's the right thing to do, or they're going to be happy after the fact. So learn to be a great storyteller. Here's another great tool for objections, and that's tell them what to do. Way too many salespeople ask for the order or stop talking and hopefully wait for the prospect or customer to say, whoa, this is just what we've been looking for. How do I get started? Where do I sign up? And we settle for too many stalls simply because we don't understand it's so much easier for people to procrastinate than it is to make a decision. So instead of asking them for a decision, instead of asking them for the order, start telling them what to do. And again, unless they stop you, you have just made your sale. Now, here's another great tool for objections. In fact, I'm going to say it's one of the most incredibly effective techniques ever to come down the pike, because we all love buying questions like, when can you deliver this? Or how do I get started? What's my down payment? Whatever. What kind of terms can I get? However, most people aren't real crazy about objections. What if there was a way to turn objections into buying questions? Well, there is. It's called the switch off techniques. Since most pros realize an objection is really a request for more information, the switch off technique simply turns their objection into a buying question. Again, if you can imagine somebody, when they give you an objection, is really saying, yes, I'm interested. Why else would I still be talking to you after 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, but you haven't quite sold me yet? Can you give me some more information? I'm still a little unsure. So when you hear the objection, why not try the switch off technique? As an example, if they say, well, I can't afford it, you could say, I guess what you're really asking is how we can work this into your budget. Is that correct? Now, again, no skill, technique, or choice of words is going to work 100% of the time with every product or service, with every prospect or customer. But this ranks right up there as one of the best ever. Because if you say, well, I guess what you're really asking is how we can work this into your budget, correct? And they say, well, yeah. Now you've earned the right to sell them on a payment plan or some other terms rather than arguing with them that they really can't afford it. What if they say, well, I'm afraid it won't work, or I'm afraid I'll lose my money? You could say, it sounds like you need to know about the precautions we put into place to minimize any possibility of failure. Is that correct? And again, this stuff is not going to come to you in your sleep. You're going to need to write it down, practice, drill, rehearse 16 to 21 times so it flows just like your own name. If they say, well, I'm afraid it won't work, it sounds like you really need to know about the precautions that we've put into place to minimize any possibility of failure. Is that correct? And again, if they say, well, yeah, then you've earned the right to sell them on those precautions, on your warranty, on your guarantee, on your return policy, on your quality of manufacturing or workmanship or whatever it is that is one of the key features and or benefits of your product or service. Let's say they say, well, I want to wait. You could say, well, I believe what you're really asking is what are the advantages of getting started now? Am I right? If they say, well, yeah, then you've earned the right to talk to them about the reasons for urgency rather than arguing with them that they shouldn't wait. So again, I want to wait. I'm just not ready. I believe what you're really asking is what are the advantages of getting started today? Am I right? Again, have this prepared. This should be one of a minimum of 3 skills, techniques, or choices of words that you should have for every one of your 4, 5, or 6 main objections. All right. Let's say they say, well, I want to talk it over with someone. You could say it sounds like you still have a few questions or concerns. Is that correct? If they say, well, yeah, then you've earned the right to, talk to them about what their concern or question is, sell them more benefits rather than arguing with them that they shouldn't need to or have to talk to somebody else. In each case, you've been able to turn their objection into a buying question. You've earned the right to sell more instead of arguing, fighting, and doing battle with them. Well, folks, I believe I've saved the best for last. Always remember that we have 2 choices when we hear any objection. We can talk about what they want to talk about, which is usually that they don't want to buy, or we can talk about what we want to talk about, which is why they should buy. So the simple technique is acknowledge and proceed with a benefit summary. This can be your catch-all, and it can work with virtually any objection. It's called the benefit summary because during your qualifying, you should have found out what their favorite 3 or 4 benefits are. And even if you didn't, you can still pick out the top 3 or 4 favorites out of all your clients or customers. When you hear the objection, you simply acknowledge with a cushioning statement like, I understand, or I appreciate that, or I know how you feel, and then proceed with your benefit summary. An example might be, whatever they say, blah, 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 blah. I can appreciate how you feel. However, with ABC, you have the peace of mind knowing we are an industry leader. Our guarantee is the best in the world. We offer you the easiest terms. Plus, you can always trade in your model and receive full credit for your original investment. Based on that, let's complete your paperwork so we can make your life a lot easier. And what I've basically done is acknowledged what they've said, and I don't care what it is. I want to wait. I can't afford it. Call me back in 3 years. Whatever they say, you can simply say, I appreciate how you feel. However, with ABC, you have the peace of mind knowing that we are the industry leader. Our guarantee is the best in the world. We offer you the easiest terms, plus you can always trade in your model and receive full credit for your original investment. Based on that, let's complete your paperwork so we can make your life a lot easier. And you notice, hopefully, that smile is on my face from start to finish every time I answer or handle an objection or use any choice of words. Again, they will do business with you because they like you. And if you feel like you truly believe in what you're representing and you have that passion about your product or service, that certainly will come through. Well, folks, in wrapping up, I'm going to encourage you, if you do nothing else, at least visit stanbillue.com. There's the web address, www.stanbillue.com. You can subscribe to a free monthly newsletter. It's got humor, sales skills. It's got a motivational tip. It's got something of value. You can also subscribe to our free weekly marketing tip. Every Monday morning, you'll get a marketing tip, absolutely no cost. There's also a ton of free articles and interviews. Mike Brooks and I are probably known for giving more of our stuff away than virtually any other trainer out there. So, again, even if finances are a concern, don't let that stop you from starting to learn from some of the masters that are out there that have paid their dues, that have mastered their craft, and that are willing to share some of their skills and techniques with you. Now, again, we're going to wrap it up before we get into some Q&A by just a recap of the 4 power products that Mike asked me to put together for you. Excuse me. First is our video sales training series called 90 Telemarketing Selling Skills. There's 90 complete video training sessions, almost 8 solid hours. You get to download all 8 hours onto your computer. You can burn your own DVDs. You'll have it in your library anytime you need it. The normal retail on that is $295. The second of our 4 power products is our incredible audio series. This is a classic in the industry. It's sold in over 60 countries around the world, called Double Your Income Selling on the Phone. There are 12 audio sessions crammed solid with 10 solid hours of skills, techniques, and choice of words. There's no fluff. There's no dead air. It is just solid 10 hours of the finest skills, techniques, and 100 ways to close a sale that you'll ever come across. The third of our 4 power products, and again, our best value ever, is our printed sales training called the Sales Expose. This is 168 pages of skills, techniques, examples of scripts, working around screeners, how to keep from being blown off the phone call in the first 10 seconds, how to qualify more in depth in less time, how to make more effective presentations, dozens of skills and techniques on overcoming objections. Yes, all 100 closes are transcribed in the Sales Expose. It's all the tips and techniques you need if you're not into sales possibly and you're an entrepreneur or a business owner or a sales manager. You will find invaluable skills, tips, and techniques and ideas in there to help you achieve more out of your personal and your professional life. And finally, number 4 is the autobiography, my manuscript called A Bestseller. Folks, this rocks. There's 150 life lessons learned. And again, wow, what can I tell you? The normal retail on these 4 products is $495. Today only, we've got 50 sets set aside, not $395, not even $295, only $195. There's the link. You can go to it. What is it? Okay, there's the summary. There's the 4 products. There's the link you can go to. You can use MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover. Folks, it's everything you ever wanted to know about becoming a master of your craft. They're sold in over 60 countries. They're credited with helping to create more 6- and 7-figure-a-year income earners than any other training materials ever produced. I believe that anyone can be significantly more effective in sales than they currently are if they have the most powerful skills, techniques, and choices of words possible. Today, you can save a whopping $300 on my complete catalog, and I urge you to make that small investment in yourself and your financial future. You know, earlier you saw the testimonials from several people, including my co-host, my good friend, Mike Brooks, saying that these products helped him earn over $1 million in commissions. You know, instead of allowing yourself to figure out why you shouldn't, couldn't, or wouldn't invest $195 in your future, ask yourself this question instead. If a one-time investment of $195 that helps me earn over $1 million, is that a good return on investment? Well, duh. As Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, hell yes. And by the way, if you already own all or part of these products at this low investment, why not get another set for a friend, a relative, or a coworker? Mike, I'm going to give it over to you. Any comments you've got, and then we can open it up for some Q&A from the folks listening.
Yes, Stan, we definitely have some questions. I want everybody to write questions into your question box there. I'm going to sort through them, give them to Stan. I've already got a couple of queued up right now, so we want to get as much value to you as we can by answering your questions while we've got Stan on the phone. So that's number one. Number two, people are asking if this is going to be recorded or how they're going to get this material. We are recording. I'm going to stop the recording before we go into questions and answers. You'll get a recording of this tomorrow after 12 noon. You know, and I just want to make one comment about these products and more importantly, the value of them. Stan, you know, when I was listening to the webinar today and I was listening to the techniques and the turnarounds that you were, I love when someone says, well, I really can't afford it. Well, John, aren't you really saying that you'd like to find a way to fit this into your budget so you can get the kind of results that my other clients are getting right now? Isn't that what you really mean? When you gave just some of the information today, I remember it kind of took me all the way back when I was struggling as an 80% producer, searching for an answer, searching for techniques that would catapult me into top performance. And here's the important thing. I want everybody to listen to this word. That would give me the confidence. The confidence. So when I was on the phone with a prospect and I felt like the sale was going south. And you all know that feeling, you know, you're on the phone, you're trying to close the deal, and then they start coming up with objections or stalls, and your heart goes from your chest into your stomach. You start thinking about how you're going to pay the rent, make your other payments. I tell you something, Stan, when I listened to this today, and I remember investing in your material, and I felt like I was given the keys to the kingdom. I was finally given the owner's manual of how to win in sales. And I took those techniques that you taught today and the hundreds of others that you have in your material, and I learned them, and I used them, and suddenly I went from being a bottom 80% producer to a top 20, and then a top 10, and then a top 1% closer easily because I finally have the tools. And I tell everybody out there now, man, you're getting videos, you're getting audios, you're getting written, and again, just using one or two of these techniques and making one sale will pay for this material. So if you don't already have this material, I like, Stan, you say you'd be a fool not to order it today and start making more money. So
you hit the nail on the head, Mike, when you said, to become competent, to become confident, you have to become competent. And virtually, selling is a learned skill. So anyone on the line today or listening to the recorded replay, the good news is that, yes, it's still one of the highest paid professions in the world. And yes, you don't need to go to 4 or 8 or longer years of college to get a degree to be able to earn the kind of money that you've seen on some of these testimonials. All you need is to invest, in this case, a couple $100, $1.95 to have everything there that you need to have all the tools to become competent. And once you become competent, your confidence level goes right through the freaking roof.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I'm a sold testimonial myself. Then I'm going to get to the questions. But I remember, Stan, when I was so low. I was ready to quit sales. I didn't know what I was going to do. I couldn't pay my rent, and your cassette series at that time was $127, and I really struggled with myself because I could barely afford that on my credit card. That was a lot of money to me back then, man. But I was failing otherwise. I didn't know what else I was going to do, and I took a risk, and I made a commitment, and I invested in your material. And as soon as I got it, as soon as I listened to it, I felt like I was given all the answers, and I immediately knew everything was going to be okay. And not only was it okay, but I did get competent, and then I got confident, and then I got the empowerment. It comes from being a top rep, and suddenly I was in a different class than everybody else. And I can't talk about this enough.
Mike, I just want to share very quick my own personal testimonial from Mike Brooks, because folks, I don't care if it's my material or Mike Brooks' material. The key that we're talking about, both of us are talking about here, is being willing to invest in yourself. Research and development. Many owners of businesses will tell you they have to set aside a certain percentage of their revenue for R&D, research and development, so you're constantly staying ahead of the competition. Mike did invest when he could barely in my material, and I was fortunate because Mike and I stayed in contact through the years, and he shared with me that he jumped into the top 20%, and then the top 10%, and then the top 1% of all the earners of sales in the world. Can you imagine that? And, then I remember when he said, I'm going to become a speaker and trainer if that's okay with you. And I said, well, of course, get out there and share, give back to people. And then I remember when you first developed your audio series, you said, I'd like to call it Double Your Income Selling on the Phone. And I don't think people will confuse it, even though it's the same title and our last names start with B, I'm going to market it separately. And I said, great, that's a tremendous compliment. And Mike and I were talking a few minutes ago, and I don't know if I'm spilling any beans, but him and his lovely wife just came back from 3 weeks in Europe, and they're talking about, what'd you say, 7 weeks in Hawaii later this year?
Yeah, we've already booked 7 weeks in Honolulu.
I mean, folks, to be able to be in that position, and just remember what I said earlier, if you'll work at sales for the next 5 or 10 years, like most people won't, you can indeed live the rest of your life like most people can't. And for many of you listening today, that starts with a $195 investment in your future. I don't care if you have to freaking have a garage sale and raise $195. Call your relatives and say, hey, for Christmas this year, send me money and send it early because I want to start making more money. And, you have that opportunity today. You can become a Mike Brooks. You can become anything. You can become the best you can become. Again, we've only got a finite number of years to make our fortune, if you will, in this world. Until I'm proven wrong, this is not a dress rehearsal. We get one time through. Why not make as much money legally as you can and enjoy life to the fullest while you've been given that opportunity to do so? Mike, do we have some Q&A?
We do. Let me stop the recording. We'll get right to it. Hang on a moment. All right, we do. And here's the first question. Somebody said, are we supposed to memorize the scripts when talking to prospects?
Well, that's a great question. Let me ask you, have you ever watched a TV show or a movie? Well, of course you have. And virtually every one of those actors, with the possible exception of a Robin Williams, they give him a little extra freedom. But every movie, every TV show, every Broadway play, everything you've ever seen is a memorized word-for-word script. Yes, of course you memorize it. Now, after you nail it, you can certainly change a word or two around to fit your own personality or your own style, your own product or service, as long as you don't weaken those words or phrases. But absolutely, it should be memorized. I've had a lot of people, Mike, through the years say, well, I don't believe in scripts. They sound like they're phony, like they're being read. Well, a script is only bad when it sounds like it's being read. You practice, drill, rehearse 16 to 21 times. You put it into your own personality, and you make it sound real.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't sound like you're reading it, like it was prepared.
Yeah.
It should sound natural. And the way to do that is just practice, drill, rehearse 16 to 21 times until you build it into your arsenal. I hope that helps whoever.
Yeah, and Stan, I'll just tag on to that, because what I say is this, and it's really true. Whenever somebody says, well, I don't want to use a script, I say, you know what, here's the deal. If I were to follow you around for a week and put a tape recorder next to your desk and record every conversation, cold call, and close that you have with your clients and prospects, and then typed it all out, guess what? It'd all be the same. In other words, you're already using a script. You're already saying the same things. The problem is you're using bad scripts and poor techniques and ad-libbing horrible techniques, and that's why you're failing. So why not learn the proven techniques and memorize, internalize, drill, practice, and rehearse those, so what comes out of your mouth is perfection, and you start closing more sales easily.
I agree 100%, Mike.
Yeah.
I've proven it many times by recording 10 phone calls in a row and having them transcribed with minor variations. They're saying almost the same thing.
Yeah.
But, like Mike says, why not say the very best words, phrases, emotion-packed words, power phrases that, are known to cause action and to get them emotionally involved, because selling has always been and always will be an emotional involvement. And I challenge you, as you're listening back to this recording, listen to Mike when he was introducing me, for crying out loud. There was passion, there was emotion, there was believability, there was a performance, that just in the introduction. That's what you need to have if you're going to be successful in selling.
You bet.
All right, next question.
Yeah, this is actually a comment from somebody named Tim. He said, I have purchased these products at higher prices, and I would have paid double for the sales expose alone. He says, Stan, I will buy you lunch when I visit Florida. Thanks, Tim.
I love it. Well, thank you. Was his name Kim or her name?
Tim. It's Tim.
Tim,
Yep.
I thank you for the nice comment, and again, I appreciate those kind of testimonials. And you're right, it could be the audio series, it could be the video series, it could be the sales expose, it could be something that you picked out of a bestseller autobiography. I got an email today from a gentleman I haven't talked to for over 10 years in Fairfield, Iowa, that shared with me a major close that he just made using word for word a technique I taught him 25 years ago. And he said, just wanted to thank you because you just put about 20 grand into my pocket yesterday. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And again, folks, all we're saying to you is make a commitment to become the best you can become. And to do that, why not use the very best skills, techniques, and choices of words that can help you become the best you can become?
Yeah. Any investment in yourself will always pay for itself, period. Okay, here's a question for you, Stan. Somebody is asking, what would be a switch-off technique if the client says they want to shop around or go with another company?
I believe, what you're really asking is, what are the advantages of going ahead with us today rather than wasting the time, talent, and energy to shop around 4 or 5 or 6 other places, correct?
There you go.
And again, you'll notice I didn't stumble. I didn't have to say, well, Mike, gosh, you're catching me off the top of my head here. Give me a chance to write something down and think about it. No, it's a reflex response, folks. It's like a prize fighter or an MMA fighter. If they had to stop and think every time they had to block a punch or a counter, my gosh, they'd be laying on their back looking up at the lights on the canvas. All these skills, techniques, responses have to be built in. You practice, drill, rehearse, and role play them until they flow, just like it's automatic. You don't have to stop and think. You build them in. That's what makes you an absolute superstar in this business.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely true. I love pro football, as you know, and I was doing a training a couple weeks ago, actually about four and a half weeks ago, and one of the guys there had a quote from Don Shula, the famous Miami Dolphin coach, and Don used to say, we need to not only learn this stuff, but we need to over-learn it Because if you get into a situation where you need a technique and you need to think about it, you've already lost. It's too late.
I love it. You talk about the football. Minnesota Vikings are actually using my material to sell more tickets to their football games now.
No kidding.
Isn't that wild?
I was trying to get that gig. I know a guy out there who's with them. Yeah, I communicate with them all the time, you bum.
I thought your favorite was Tampa.
It is my favorite, Tampa, but I'll work with any NFL team, Stan. Yeah, okay. Here's another one. He says, how do you get a prospect that is flat? You can't get them excited about anything. Any suggestions for getting them to engage more?
Wow, what a great question. Selling is an emotional involvement, and sometimes we do come across those people that are very analytical in their thinking and talking and decision-making process. There's just no friggin' emotion there whatsoever. They're like the old analogy of the plastic pencil protector in their pocket, the nerdy type of individual, whatever. Sometimes you can't sell them. I'll be very honest with you. No skill, technique, or choice of words will work with every prospect. Always remember, some will, some won't. Who cares who's next? All I ask is that you give it your very best shot. And if you can't sell them, then it's not your fault. You can still lay your head down at night knowing that you gave it your very best shot. You didn't shortchange yourself, your family, your loved ones, or your company. All you can do is try to get them more emotionally involved. There are some key questions that I have in my material that will help you along those lines. So I encourage you, get into the sales expose in particular. There's a whole section on how to work with the non-emotional and the analytical type prospect or customer.
Yeah.
But too much material for us to get into on this short call.
Got it. Here's another question. Somebody is saying, hey, there's too much competition on this webinar, and they're going to learn the same techniques. How do I differentiate myself from him or her? And there's an unsmiley face.
I love it. Here's the thing, folks. I've been out there doing this for 35 years. I can share with you that many people come up and compliment me and say, yeah, the light bulb really went off. But there's very few that really take this material and work to apply it to become the very best they become. I'm complimented all the time and recognized for training more 6- and 7-figure a year income earning pros. And yes, 7 figures does mean making over $1 million a year in commissions, not in sales, in commissions. It takes a heck of a commitment to actually use this material. Most people get into the material. Number one, they put it under their bed and they hope through osmosis it works through its way up through the bed springs and they learn it. Very few people take the time to feed their mind every day on purpose to learn at least one new skill or technique or choice of words a day. I often tell people, if you'll just blindly open up a frickin' dictionary and point to a word and just add one word to your arsenal each day, I mean, gosh, that's 25 a month, that's 250 a year. Can you imagine how great you would be? But most people don't put forth the extra effort to purposely learn something new every day. So trust me when I say you don't have to worry about the competition. Believe me, you can work into the top 20, top 10%, top 5%, and even the top 1% simply because you're doing those things that other people won't do.
All right. That's a great answer. We're going to take just a couple more. Here's a question for you, Stan. Someone says, hey, I am brand new to sales. How long would you say it takes to start making serious salary within a defined market?
Wow. Depending on your commitment to mastering your craft, quite frankly, you can become a superstar within 90 days. If you'll apply an hour a day, 5 days a week to mastering your craft, immersing yourself in audio tapes during your dead time, audio recordings like driving to and from your work, or while you're shaving or exercising or laying out by the pool, feeding your mind during your dead time, watching a video or two every day so that you have the impact of not only the spoken word, but the live speaker trainer. If you'll immerse yourself in the written material, do something every day, 5 days a week, an hour a day, I guarantee you could become a top producer in your company and probably within your industry in as little as 90 days.
I agree, Stan. That's how long it took me, 90 days to change my life. Was that worth it? Yeah, you think? Definitely it was.
Yeah, and you'll see a couple of my testimonials that were on this webinar and on my website where people literally have said within a month, some have even said like virtually overnight, my income soared. It can work quicker for some people, but because a lot of times it's not a lot of things that are keeping you back. It could be just your level of self-confidence. Yeah. And simply by getting a better command of a particular area of the sales process, like objections, or keeping from being blown off the phone call in the first 10 seconds, or being able to close stronger for larger amounts. Yeah. If you just learn a little bit to help you in that 1 week area, your confidence level goes through the roof because your competency level has just risen dramatically. So a lot of times, folks, it's not a whole myriad or dozens or hundreds of different areas you have to improve on. More often than not, I'm able to identify one or two key elements that if that person simply improves those elements, they dramatically double, triple, quadruple their sales production virtually overnight.
Yeah, totally agreed. Here's one other question. Does this relate to door-to-door sales, in-home sales of home improvement?
Anytime two people meet, somebody gets sold. So the answer is absolutely yes. At least 95% of all my material, all of Mike Brooks' material applies to face-to-face selling, whether that's in-home, whether it's retail where you're waiting around for the prospect to come in and surprise you, whether it's auto sales or furniture sales, whether it's out sales, traveling across town in your 120-degree car and sitting in lobbies for an hour or two. Mike and I just happen to believe we can talk to so many more people on the phone in less time, and that's why we've chosen to pursue our career in doing business over the phone. But absolutely it applies to face-to-face selling.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And somebody says, does it apply to radio sales, intangible sales?
Absolutely. Tangible, intangible. It applies to business, business to consumer, inbound, outbound. Don't try to figure out why a skill technique will not work. Instead, practice, drill, rehearse 16 to 21 times. Change a couple words around to fit your personality, your product, your service, and put it to work for you.
Yep. Here's one last question, Stan. I get this one a lot as well, and I'd love to hear how you handle it. This guy says, I had a customer tell me he can buy the same product for half, and then he says, I know this is a lie, but I don't doubt he can get it for less. So why would he buy from us? He sees no added value in the goods or product or service.
Great question.
Yeah.
When you're competing with somebody at the same, or even in many cases, they have a lower price, the great majority of the time, people will do business with you when you can add something else that nobody else can, which is you. This is when you learn to really sell yourself and the quality of service after the sale that you're going to provide for somebody. Whether that's keeping in contact with emails, sharing them different stories, articles, tips and techniques that you picked up from some of their competition or within their industry, keeping a personal contact once a month by phone, sending cards. Again, just learn to sell yourself, because that is the one thing that they can't get from anybody else, even if somebody else is offering a lower price.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Stan, we're at the top of the hour. I got work to do. You got work to do, and everybody on this call has work to do. By the way, there have been many, many people, I haven't said this, but there have been many people who have already taken advantage of the offer. Many comments like, hey, this is the best offer I've seen. This is a no-brainer. I've already bought. I've already purchased. So If you haven't yet purchased yet, if we haven't sold you, Stan, I'm going to steal a line from you, and I remember this clearly, and I use it even today at the very end of Stan's 6 cassette series all those years ago. He said, if I have sold you on making a commitment in yourself, then I have made one of the greatest sales I will ever make. And you know, it, by golly, that is so, so true. And I hope that we have both been able to sell everyone listening today. And if you're a business owner making a $195 investment in each of your employees, this will be the best investment you will make, period. And Stan, I'm going to let you take us away, and I want to thank you for everything.
Mike, it's my pleasure. And for those of you that have been listening this whole webinar, you can probably hear that there's a mutual admiration society between Mike and Stan. And Mike took my material, ran with it, didn't try to figure out what was wrong with it, put it to work, memorized it, put it into his own words and phrases, became a top 1% producer in the entire world, has now gone on to become one of the most highly recognized and highly rated and highly effective sales trainers and speakers in the entire world. I am so very proud of you, Mike. I want to stress to every one of you, you know, you're talking right now, you're listening to a guy that never finished high school. What you heard in the introduction was true. 34 years of self-made failure. I simply made the commitment in July of 77 to start investing an hour a day to try to master my craft. As I said earlier, next month I'm celebrating my 36th anniversary. And yes, I still invest that hour a day to learn at least one thing that helps me be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. I'm going to sign off now. I have not checked my email yet. Once I clear this screen and go to my email, I'm sure that if we haven't sold out, we're very, very close to. So I want to urge you, the same as Mike has done, is invest that $195 and pick up one of the 50 sets that we've offered today. Even if you have all or part of the material, buy another one. Give it to a friend, a colleague, an associate, a fellow coworker. It'll be the best gift that you could ever give yourself or someone else. I wish everybody a fantastic future. Mike, thanks again for allowing me to give back, as you and I both love to do.
And thank you for being here, Stan. And I want to wish everybody all the best. And Stan, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Take care, man.